Hello everybody, it is me, Clawmaster. I am back with another behind the scenes video on the entire online miniseries I created in the lead up to my supposed debut, but was cancelled for lore and real life purposes. Now in this episode, I'll be going over episode 4 and my thoughts and creation upon that idea. And this is actually one of my favorite episodes out of everything I've made so far. So, to talk about episode 4, now obviously we lead from episode 3 right afterwards into episode 4 into Eli basically scanning and analyzing Clawmaster's armor. The idea for this was basically, as I said before in the last episode, very much this design was very much inspired by Iron Man from the Marvel movies, and one of the things I really wanted to do is something similar fashion to some degree, because I don't know how to 3D model, or I used to, but not as much anymore. And the next thing I could think of was, okay, I had this concept art that I had commissioned on Skeb, and now I want to turn this into a episode of analyzing each part and describing what each thing can do. And some of it I had to really make up on the fly, in terms of like, his boots, it makes him fly. What else it does? It has claws on it. Okay, so I guess he's good at clinging onto walls. So I really had to think about most of the stuff you see on screen regarding what exactly each major part of Clawmaster's armor and suit does. So, basically, like, yeah, that went from there and just kind of described each major part of it in very much like the Iron Man fashion in terms of what each thing was. And it was a really cool effect, because one of the things I really liked about this episode was that very much, again, like Iron Man, like just kind of describing and having some cool special effects. Also, I didn't talk in this episode, so that was great. But it basically was me just kind of taking the idea of scanning armor and then putting some light text and also like implementing some video into it, which is really cool, and I like doing it. Very much just making cool stuff for the most part. So there's not much to say about the idea behind it, other than just do what Iron Man and Marvel did and just do the same thing for Clawmaster for this episode, which is cool. So I basically did that, and for the most part I feel like I've landed what I wanted to do, is with everything I had in hand. Not again, I only had so much to work with, so I think this is the best outcome. But what I will say though is it was a lot of fun putting it together also as well. I always wanted to do one of these type of things, and my first go around was not bad, but I definitely want to have a go at it again in the near future. So with that being said, let me see if I can boot up After Effects or Premiere Pro and get into the nitty-gritty of the video editing. Alright, we are back, and this time now we have the behind the scenes footage look through the video editing aspect of the video that I created for the online miniseries. So again, much of this is pretty much some of this I already had done before, in regards to this effect right here. This is, I believe I used it for another demo reel I did in a year or two ago, and it was something I kept over. I believe I grabbed it off of YouTube, and it was a scanning video green screen, and I took that and I put it into my video because it was pretty well done. Like, it was basically the circle would center on something, expand, and it will put out online for me to put the text and whatnot. If you're wondering where the text is, the text was actually added on in Premiere Pro, which you did see, and it was very much just one of the templates that they had, which fit really well for what I was going for. But in terms of what I did in After Effects, so with the After Effects version of the video, what I essentially did is that, again, thanks to the website I subscribe to, and I'll put it right again on screen so you can see where I went to. They had a multiple array of good templates for me to mess around with, and one of which was the overlay. I did not make this overlay or this cybernetic sci-fi UI. This very much I got from the website, put into here, and then start messing around with my concept art and how it fits within it, and zooming out and scaling to fit where the momentum is going. So that pretty much is how that works, or how that was put together. But everything else wise, close-up shots, you got kind of more a full body shot here, half body, very much just photoshopped out the concept model, put into different layers and put into After Effects, and just for each one I zoomed in or I zoomed out or I made emphasis on which one. The cool effect I really did enjoy is this effect you see on screen where he's kind of disappearing like cybernetically. This effect I believe I got a while back through, I want to say it was through Humble Bundle or some other website where it had a bunch of special effects that I can implement. And this actually, I believe, was a matte. Let me double check on that. Let's see. This is this, right? Let's see. No, that's not it. Is it? No, hang on. Maybe it's this right here. Yeah. Okay. Double click on that. Yes, it is a track matte. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So basically, in layman's terms, what I did is I took that effect, overlaid on the image so that it will show up as it is revealing. And what ended up happening, actually, I gotta go in here, actually. There we go. Okay. And let's go back here. Okay. So yeah, basically that motion, that video, I overlaid on top of the picture. And while that is happening, I made sure that the image itself. Come on, you. The image itself, as you can see. Let me go ahead and let's see, which one was it? Yeah, okay. So the image itself, which I already have a mask, actually, the half of it, so that only this upper side is showed up. But basically what happens is that I went ahead and set the opacity to 0 here, and then increased it to 45 for the reveal, and then I reversed it when I needed to disappear. So that while technically the image isn't being seen, because it's still there, but because I have the mask on it, the other video on top, layer on top, it's taking its place on top of the image as if it was there. So that's in the most general terms, in terms of I just put a video on top of another video and just make sure that the image just disappears when it needs to be, in the very basic of terms, about then get into the nitty gritty. So yes, track matting is pretty cool. So you'll see that a lot in this video in terms of what other transitions I put in here, like this effect as well. So this is actually my favorite part of the entire thing. So I needed a way to show off what the gauntlets can do, because in lore purposes, or in lore wise, the gauntlets, what they basically are is, like, think of Green Lantern's ring and how he can transform anything that he wants to into existence with his ring. But in this instance, for Clawmaster, it's his gauntlets. He has 2 gauntlets that he can form, and he can form any weapon that he chooses to. But the downside to doing so is that, one, it takes up some of his dragon energy or his essence to do so, and 2, he can't sustain that for a very long time, as he is still a hero in training and can only maybe form maybe 1 or 2 things that he can control without it fading out. So his go-tos are usually just like claws, because, you know, Clawmaster. And I think this effect, again, I got a while back, I bought a bunch of video effects that I have on my computer, a bunch of other stuff I have. So I had this lightning effect I had on hand, and what I did is, while usually this effect is only one time around, it only happens once. I layered on top 2 or 3 of them, so it looks like it's kind of channeling into the gauntlet to explode of energy to his weapons. This is actually the concept art, but this is all video effects. So I just layered on top, and then once it gets to that part, oh, come on, After Effects, don't crash on me now. once it explodes, you see this beam of explosion from his gauntlets into his 3 blades that exploded, which is, I think, my favorite part of this video. And then there's text overlaid here as far as like what it can do and what it does, and then it'll lead into the final portion, which I don't think I have on this file, but basically it was like, you know, the date and debut date of Clawmaster and Twitch channel, which you still just go subscribe to anyways when I do debut in the future. But after that, much of everything else is pretty much the same. You zoom into an image, you have this effect going on, the text shows up. The video portion, self-explanatory, scaled from inside of the circle outwards, so it goes right to here. Video shows up, describes what's happening, or example what this can do, what this foot can do. Same with the others, and then zooms back in once it's completed. It reverses everything so that the text comes out, then goes back in, and then move on to the next section. So that's pretty much about it in terms of the complexity part. And then again, like the other parts where the text shows up, isn't much of anything else too complicated. So I had a lot of fun making this. I had a lot of fun doing this because again, I wanted to do some like Iron Man, like just to some degree, and I think this was probably the closest thing I can get to it, given what I had on hand. So yeah, this was really cool to do. This was really awesome, and I think that I turned out very well. I really loved this transformation of the blades being transformed through the special effects, and this image is really cool. I liked it a lot. So that pretty much describes the entire process of making this episode 4. So there isn't much else to say about it. There's no lore purposes outside of just like, hey, Eli is analyzing each part in real time, and very much like how Iron Man was putting things together. So very much nothing else going on. But next episode will be, I think, much more lore purposes of what's happening. So, but outside of that, this is really cool. I really enjoy making these miniseries, and I think it's awesome. And it, thank you to those who actually watched it and enjoyed what I did. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back next week with another video on behind the scenes on episode 5.